Welcome to MTN Outdoors.
Oh, hey there. Welcome back to MTN Outdoors. I'm Tom Buchanan and I'll be your guide for this week's episode. It's a great day to get out on the links, no matter the type of course you're aiming for. With the spring melt, some of Yellowstone National Park's interior roads are now open. MTN's John Shearer was in West Yellowstone for the opening of the west entrance. So close.
This is the line of cars here at West Yellowstone waiting to get into the park at 7:30 in the morning. For the first time, the gates to the interior have been open to regular cars in 2024.
A little after 4.
Oh my gosh. So why did you want to be here so early to be first in line?
Because I do it every year.
How many times have you been first?
3. I'm looking for wildlife, do photography. I do a lot of photography, so I enjoy watching the animals and stuff.
Not all park roads are open just yet. Right now, you can travel from West Yellowstone to Old Faithful, up to Norris and over to Canyon. The road is also open from Mammoth to Norris. The road from Mammoth to Cook City remains open year-round. But the lake area, the Hayden Valley, Washburn Mountain, the East Entrance, and the South Entrance roads all remain closed while snow plowing operations continue.
Well, hopefully we get to see some grizzlies, maybe some wolves, or maybe some moose. Never seen a moose up close, so hopefully we get a chance to see them.
You can't go there yet, but once the Hayden Valley opens for the season, there will be some new limitations starting in July on park visitors. A nearly 16,500-acre bear management area is being created. While the Mary Mountain Trail will remain open, off-trail travel will not be allowed in the area from July 15th to September 15th. Why now?
A disproportionate amount of the bear-inflicted human injuries are occurring in Hayden Valley compared to the rest of the park. So Hayden Valley, it's about 1% of the park, but it was accounting for about 20% of the grizzly bear-inflicted human injuries.
Kerry says the best way to see bears in the spring is to just drive around. He recommends Tower, Hayden Valley, the East Entrance Road near Lake Butte, and the Lamar Valley. In Yellowstone National Park, John Shearer, MTN News.
Leaders with the Bureau of Land Management say their new public lands rule is intended to improve the health and resilience of these lands and to put conservation on equal footing with other uses. The Biden administration said the final rule refines an initial proposal they introduced a year ago. It directs the BLM to consider land health when managing all uses. Currently, they've applied those principles only to grazing decisions. The rule also calls for restoration leases, in which a group could seek approval to improve a degraded landscape, and mitigation leases, intended to compensate for environmental impacts from a project by enhancing conservation values in another location. In addition, it tells the BLM to prioritize designating areas of critical environmental concern, or ACECs, which has special management to protect landscapes, wildlife, and historical or cultural resources. The BLM manages more than 8 million acres across Montana. The announced rule drew praise from several conservation groups in the state, who said it would provide important balance in land management and move away from a focus on resource extraction. But several of Montana's Republican members of Congress criticized the rule, warning that it would be used to lock up lands and prevent their use for grazing, mining, energy production, and recreation. The BLM said in response to public comments that restoration and mitigation leases won't be issued where they conflict with existing uses like grazing, and that recreational uses can generally continue where they are issued. They said the ACEC process will continue to include robust public involvement. This rule comes just a week after 2 other BLM rules that updated the requirements for oil and gas leasing and encouraged wind and solar energy development. In the Helena Valley, Jonathan Amberian, MTN News.
It's hard to tell because they're hard to see, but they can destroy a water system and the infrastructure within it a short period of time. I'm talking about aquatic invasive species, animals and plants that are not supposed to be there, and sadly, oftentimes brought in by us without knowing it.
starts right at the water. When you come off, the phrase we always use is clean, drain, and dry your gear. And doing that can help prevent the spread of aquatic invasive species from one water body to another. Make sure everything's clean underneath. You're not transporting any aquatic hitchhikers. Make sure things look good. These are pretty clean. And then when you get home, you hang these up and let them dry.
If you have a watercraft, any watercraft, it needs to be inspected every time you see an inspection station. Game wardens recently stopped an out-of-state vehicle when it did not stop at an inspection station near Anaconda. Watercraft had aquatic invasive species. FWP has made it simple to know when you have to stop at one of those inspection stations.
Anytime you encounter an inspection station on a highway, boaters are required to stop, even if you're carrying, whether it's a canoe or a paddleboard or a drift boat, anything, any type of watercraft, you're required to stop.
Jacobson also notes that if you buy a watercraft from out of state, you must have it inspected before you put it on any of Montana's waterways. At Missouri River Headwaters State Park, Chet Lehman, MTN News.
There's hundreds of years of history on these shelves at the Little Bighorn College, including centuries of land loss for the Crow tribe.
So I said, today's a good day. And we say that every time we do something, passing on this information to our people. From
1825 on, treaties and agreements have changed the footprint of the Crow people. Land once Crow territory has gotten smaller and smaller.
Every time we sat with the U.S. government, we lost land, from owning half of Wyoming and half of Montana to about 130 million acres to today 2.2 million acres.
Land loss started with the treaties of the 19th century through early allotments on the reservation in the late 19th century, through some other allotments in the early 20th century, and then the Crow Allotment Act of 1920. All of those, diminished Crow land holdings.
Now many are coming together to share their stories at the Land Loss and Economic Strangulation of Crow People Symposium.
What I would like to see is the story being told accurately.
I want people to get angry because of, this continues, this land loss.
The Reelbird family experienced firsthand fighting the government, standing alongside their brother and former chairman Richard Reelbird, trying to get back what was theirs.
We wanted nothing but the best for the Crow Indians.
Filing multiple lawsuits against the government.
I said, Richard, you filed a second lawsuit against the government, they're going to come after you, big time. I already spent, 8-10 years in Washington. I know what they do. And so he said, I got to do it anyway. I got to protect and preserve the land, the homeland of the Crow people.
30 days later, within 30 days, they raided his office and took all the evidence.
Richard was convicted of fraud and embezzlement, putting a pause to the fight.
It was almost like a war against the United States.
Now they are hopeful to share their history with the younger generation, knowing history could repeat itself again.
For years, we've just kind of been passing the buck to the next generation, and I believe this generation can really change things around.
In Crow Agency, Haley Monaco, MTN News.
Coming up after the break, we're going to see how some Montanans are working to keep the environment clean and educate the next generation. But first, it's time for some trivia. What is Montana's largest river by volume? As in, how many gallons of water it carries before it crosses into another state or country? That answer coming up after the break. So, do you know which river in Montana is the largest by volume? As in, how many gallons of water does that river carry as it enters into a new state or country? Originating in the Butte and Anaconda area of the state and stretching more than 300 miles, the Clark Fork River in western Montana is the largest river by volume in the Treasure State. Some volunteers in Missoula have been working to make sure the river stays clean as our own Derek Joseph reports.
Over the course of the year, lots of trash can end up right here in the Clark Fork River, but there are many Missoulians who gather once a year to pick up that trash before the spring runoff makes it too difficult to handle. For 19 years, the Clark Fork Coalition has led the community in a riverside cleanup at the heaviest trafficked areas of the Clark Fork. The current and future executive directors of the coalition say the community's care for the environment has a large impact on the success of this cleanup.
This river cleanup is such a reflection of Missoula's civic pride and engagement, and just seeing people come together, focused on a river that we all love, that connects us, that unites us. It's so heartening to see this every year.
Rivers unite us. They flow through our communities, and they flow through our hearts, minds, and imaginations. And whether your community has a river through it or not, the environment does the same for us. And so uniting around that is just something we can all agree on.
Many of the volunteers came to the cleanup because the hobbies they participate in on the river are more enjoyable when it's clean.
I like fly fishing a lot, and you know, when you're fishing and when you see junk on the river, it just kind of takes away from the whole experience.
Marcelo Noronha has been fishing in the Clark Fork River for over 3 decades, and he has seen things in the river that can be dangerous to the wildlife and people in the river that he helped remove during the cleanup.
You know, a big old irrigation pipe that, you know, just doesn't look good. And then a big chunk of metal that we managed to haul out, so it just felt good to do that. And the metal can be a real hazard in the river when you're in a raft or something and tear a hole in a raft, so we were able to pull it out.
Many of the volunteers came to the cleanup because of their hobbies they participate in on the river. The Clark Fork Coalition's next event will be the Fort Missoula Ponds Migration Watch on Monday, May 13th. In Missoula, Derek Joseph, MTN News.
Right behind me here, students from throughout Montana are presenting environmentally focused projects that are part of the Smart School initiative, from which a Red Lodge teacher was awarded the Presidential Innovation Award for Environmental Educators.
Being in a classroom and only learning about things rather than being a part of them is a very different experience for students.
Kate Belinda is a science teacher at Red Lodge High School. She received the award for her outstanding and innovative work in environmental education. Her background of work with the Wyoming Game and Fish Department and now close proximity to Yellowstone affords her the knowledge and setting to make education come to life.
The ability to get out and to actually smell the smells and hear the sounds of nature are extremely important. I don't know if you caught my first quote, and I don't have it verbatim, but we will only protect what we love, we will only love what we understand, and we will only understand what we are taught.
This honor comes with an award of up to $2,500 to be used to further the teacher's development in environmental education, as well as up to $2,500 to fund environmental education activities and programs for the teacher's local education agency. Carrie Newman, Community Air Monitoring Coordinator with Montana DEQ, is a former student of Belinda's. She says that her class opened her eyes to the science field in general and helped spark the passion for her science-based career.
Starting the seed young is super important, especially planting that seed that you can do environmental careers in Montana.
This award presentation occurred at the same time as the Smart Schools Symposium, an event for students from throughout the state to show each other what environmental projects or areas of study they've been working on, such as recycling, garden beds, renewable energy, and air quality.
Environmentally forward for certain, but it's really of looking at how we do the work we do every day, you know, be it, building things, growing things, how we produce our energy, how we work our energy systems, how our buildings function. So it's bringing that classroom knowledge and really applying it to the things that we do every day in Montana.
Reporting in Helena, Tom Buchanan, MTN News. Coming up after the break, farmers are already preparing for grasshoppers, and the residents of Butte had an unusual encounter with an animal.
We now return to MTN Outdoors.
Welcome back. Grasshoppers can be one of the most damaging issues that farmers have to deal with. Agriculture leaders are working to address the problem, as Ryan Gamboa reports.
Native to the prairie of Montana are grasshoppers and Mormon crickets.
probably 24 out of 400 different species in Montana that are economic and cause a problem.
Gary Adams is the state plant health director for the USDA. He says there are 3 major species of hoppers causing problems: the lesser migratory grasshopper, and along the Rocky Mountain front and western portion of the state, the clear-wing grasshopper.
Those are the 2 major species. There's some other ones that are major crop species that could be different. There's grasshoppers that eat grasses, or grasshoppers that eat only forbs or broadleaf plants, and there's grasshoppers that eat everything. Those latter 2 like to eat everything, and they build up into these big populations that really can be devastating.
Mother Nature plays a vital role in the grasshopper lifespan.
A cool wet spring is good, but it has to be after they hatch. If it happens before they hatch, it really has no impact on them.
Adams and APHIS encourage farmers and ranchers to check their land right now. The life cycle of a grasshopper comes in 7 steps, through 6 instar periods beginning in early spring, and then come mid-July, surviving females lay eggs for the next year. Joe Farkell is a certified crop consultant. He says the Rocky Mountain front hasn't been hit hard, thankfully.
Last year we did have some hot spots that were sprayed, field edges, fence lines.
Other than weather, ag producers can spray for grasshoppers, but it's expensive. Crop consultants like Farkell can help determine if that's the route your operation should take.
We really work with our customers on identifying the numbers and first off, are they at an economical threshold to where a management option would be economical to their operation.
And that bill is fronted by the farmer, and if you're lucky, there's minimal federal funding for grasshopper suppression. Back in February, MTN reported on Montana Stock Growers Association sending a letter to Congressman Ryan Zinke for more pest funding. And Senator Tester's office reported in the Congress minibus package, out of $30 million federal dollars, $1 million will head to Montana for grasshopper suppression.
Funding can come from a variety of places and stuff, and from an agricultural standpoint, I mean, and it can cover a variety of the industries in it. Always look out for something that can help and improve your bottom line.
While the front isn't forecasted as a hotspot for hoppers right now, starting the preventative measures early can help mollify a problem later.
Get out there, get on the ground, identify the size of grasshoppers. The very early hatches are about the size of a grain of rice. If they wait until they're old and they're flying, the opportunities have diminished to try to manage that population at that point.
For more tips and resources, visit our website. Reporting in Teton County, Ryan Gamboa, MTN News.
Residents of this Butte housing complex are used to seeing the occasional wildlife wander through their yards, but a giant elephant, that was a first.
It's kind of exciting, you know what I mean? I didn't have to go to the circus came to me.
The Jordan World Circus had a show at the Butte Civic Center on April 16th, but one of its performers, a full-grown female elephant named Viola, decided to give some people in Butte a sneak peek. Spooked by a backfiring truck, the elephant ran from the Civic Center and into traffic on Harrison Avenue. One resident of the Elm Street Apartments was walking to the town pump when he encountered Viola.
I was walking to the gas station to pick up a drink, and there it was, just walking down the street. It caught me off guard. It was, how often do you see an elephant walking down the street?
After weaving through stopped traffic, the elephant finally came to rest in this yard at the apartment complex. After a few minutes, circus staff brought a truck to safely corral the animal.
It was just standing there, just by the building, just relaxing, basically, nothing too much, not excited or anything, but as soon as the truck came here to pick him up, he kind of just walked to the truck, so I think he was just happy to get back wherever he wants to go.
A statement from Carson and Barnes, the company that provided the elephant to the circus, said they were upset the elephant was scared, but grateful it was returned unharmed and no bystanders were hurt. Despite being so close to a roaming elephant, Brandon said he was not frightened.
I wouldn't say I was scared. I was more just intrigued because it's an elephant, you know, you don't really see those in Montana.
In Butte, John Amy, MTN News.
We are in the Helena Valley, about 700 miles from the nearest ocean. So what is the deal with this road name?
I went to the source to find out how roads like this one get their names. Road naming is handled by the Lewis and Clark County City of Helena Geographic Information Systems Office. They have a database of the almost 3,000 named roads in the county, with new ones added each year.
We generally get about 6 annually.
Road name requests often come from contractors, developers, and engineers. I mean, just think of all the names needed for roads in a new subdivision. But really, anyone can apply to name or rename a road. It goes to the addressing office, and if it follows the rules, a letter is sent to adjacent property owners on the road. If the majority agree, then you've got a new road name. There really are not that many rules when it comes to naming a road. It should be a short 1 or 2 word name and not repeat or sound too similar to an already existing road. First names are fine, last names are fine, and first and last name combinations are fine if it's a figure of historic significance, like Jeanette Rankin Drive or Cromwell-Dixon Lane.
But ultimately, folks can come up with any name that they want as long as it's approvable.
That leads to a lot of interesting names, like Vandelay Ave, it's a Seinfeld reference, and Nunsuch Street off Gold Rush Ave south of Helena, and my personal favorite, Not A Road off Spokane Creek Road.
We had a road name request for Velociraptor, and so that one was quite unique. Interestingly, property owners recently decided to rename that.
While there are not super strict rules for road names, there are strict rules for street type, like court, loop, lane.
Those are very specific, and essentially those help assist responders in case of emergencies.
For example, in the county, a road generally runs east to west, while a drive runs north to south. A court is any cul-de-sac less than 1,300 feet long and with a circle at one end. And a lane is a meandering roadway less than 2,500 feet long.
You can find links to all the specifics about road naming in the county, including the list of existing road names on our website. In the Helena Valley, Marian Davidson, MTN News.
Well, that's going to wrap up things for this week's episode. I had been hoping to spot some birdies and eagles out here, but just like golf, this has been a pleasant, wonderful walk, spoiled by a small, round object. Oh, shoot! 4! I'm sure they're fine, but I'm just gonna go check on them just to be safe. I'm Tom Buchanan, and I'll catch you next time. Yeah, you're gonna wanna elevate that, maybe get some ice.